Corona Throw, parts, updates, da da da. This has turned into a many part thing, so just thought I'd throw you some buzzwords there for you. We dive back in. So this is where we left it. That picture right there. We looked at. Decided to cluster it basically. I decided to cluster 5G and the New World Order and conspiracy issues into one little segment, just to sort of cut down, save time, and to say relative to topics. So that's where we left off there. And basically, if you're just joining us back, we basically wrapped up by saying that they're both an advantage of the coronavirus, which I didn't say in the last video, but that's kind of my base point about it, that they were both advantages of the coronavirus, but not directly affected. There is neither of them are the direct cause for coronavirus, to answer that question. But we'll move on because we have more important things to talk about. Right, so the question's food for thought. Why is COVID-19 so random with its symptoms? Now, I got sick. I'm not going to go into me getting sick personally. That's a whole other video if you'd like to hear about it. But the long and short is that I got sick and recovered very fast. I recovered very fast because I kept my immune system strong, watched Lockdown Health for it. The opinion I have is that the immune system is what's key to recovery. It doesn't have that much to do with vaccines. It doesn't have that much to do with, just generally, praying for medicine. Your immune system fights off everything. I'm going to skate past it, though. Even though I do want to go into my hypothesis, I'll go into it at another point because this is something that I am going to go into. Generally speaking, it was what I was going to go into on a channel anyway about how to keep your immune system healthy. And I'll skate right past it and get down to the point of the fact of the weird fact of why it was why it struck me is because it is so random with its symptoms. Almost everything else I've ever seen in terms of infections and diseases, you generally know what you're going to get. Now, obviously, symptoms can be far and few. But if you've opened up a medicine before, and you've seen the leaflet that ascribes to it, 1 in 10, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 will get ... is what you'll see. Because yes, people do get stuff, but it's quite rare that we see an abstract or abnormal symptom. And even though, yes, fine, it was a new virus, people were not quick to figure it out. One of the things that struck me when I got sick and had to speak to 111 about it, I have underlying symptoms. I couldn't breathe properly. I had asthma, migraine, etc. Was that they didn't seem to know or even seem to care. And I'll give some context because I don't want to discredit 111. They're a brilliant service, but 111 basically turned around to me when I got better, because I was trying to confirm whether some of the lasting symptoms I had, which was not being able to smell and not being able to taste, and red eye. I had permanent red eye. I had all three for ages. I called up to find out whether these things warranted me being able to go out or not. And they said, as long as you don't have the cough, and as long as you don't have the fever, you're good to go. Which struck me, because that's not a coronavirus related advice. That's the advice you give to somebody with any kind of sickness. That is a textbook medical answer. And what struck me is that since COVID-19 has come and they've started talking about symptoms and stuff, there's been a lot of textbook responses, which obviously, of course, makes sense. They'll give you a textbook response. Fair enough. That's how you handle any situation appropriately. But the symptoms, for the fact that they turn around and then said that because there are so many symptoms, they're not sure about with the taste and the smell, what's when it's meant to come back. Because that was one of the questions I asked. I thought to myself that how it's very strange that everybody has had so many vastly different symptoms. And I'm sure there's more at this time. I haven't researched the rest of them, but the long and short is that it definitely stands out to me personally as something that's got it's very strange in how it affects people, because it affects everybody so differently for such different periods of time. For me, like I say, I got sick one day, and I know that a lot of it's attributed to I feel that a lot of it's attributed to how strong your immune system is, but all the same. Something to ponder on. Second question, 3B, if you will, because it's all the same question. So if it is man-made, for what? A cure or a biological weapon? Now, I'm not being crazy here. This does have a warrant, because if we're going to talk about the origins of coronavirus, we do have to ask if it was man-made or not. And there is no way this is not man-made. There is some people saying that if someone's eating a bat or whatever. Okay, don't get me wrong. There's probably a small chance that it could have the origins are definitely from an animal, yes. But the chances of it being transferred to humans is a very small chance that it came from someone just eating something from the street. But I highly doubt it. People have been using and manufacturing biological weapons for years, guys. And so I'm not speaking out of turn when I start just suggesting that the origins of it were for scientific curiosity. This is where the context is going. I'm not saying that it was intentionally spread as a biological weapon. I'm saying that governments have histories of doing such things. And that's starting to get bright behind me. I'm so sorry. It's getting too bright in here now. I'm not adjusting the settings. Alright, let's get into it, because I actually have some facts here. Because I do remember I'm old enough now to have lived through a few pandemics, getting old. But I'll just cover myself to give myself some context. So, biological weapons. Let's give you a quick history of biological weapons. I'll throw some things at you. So, first of all, it is got to be established, if you're a human being in this world, that weapons have got worse over the years. We started off back a day with hands, which turned into swords, which turned into guns, which turned into missiles. They have got worse. We live in a world of mutually assured destruction and defense budgets. I say that again. We live in a world of mutually assured destruction and defense budgets, which are in their trillions for some countries. And if these aren't the two most terrifying things you have ever heard, I don't know what's going to terrify you. The fact that we live in a world where everybody's got missiles, and the only reason we haven't fired them is because we're afraid someone else is going to shoot their missiles at us, and we all stand there in this brief arguing match, boxing match kind of esque, where we're all pointing weapons that could destroy everybody. When we've seen it happen in the past, what an atom bomb can do, I think it's absolutely terrifying that we live in there. And not just that we live in it, but that our governments actively pursue to carry on with them by saying, yeah, we'll spend trillions or millions or whatever, or billions on our defense budgets. You know, like a whole different thing. I won't bother getting into that too much. And the fact that it's normal to see bombs, you know, we see the news, we see bombs dropping everywhere. It's become dangerously normal, and it terrifies the life out of me. I don't know how you feel about it. But nonetheless, there have been documented cases of governments, and manufacturing, and private industries as well, manufacturing or endorsing the manufacturing of biological weapons, which has led to problems. What am I talking about? So I've picked out 4 here just for us to have a look at. First of all, we've got the H5N1, which is the bird flu. If anyone remembers the bird flu, sorry. If you don't remember bird flu, it was another coronavirus, I believe. Don't quote me on bird flu, but it was definitely a virus. And that was developed after the pandemic, the initial natural pandemic that happened. Shortly afterwards, I believe it was the same year of 2011, a guy named Ron Fouchier, perhaps, Fouchier, you can research that name, Ron Fouchier, I believe it was probably, he for the purpose of research purposes, they decided to take the original bird flu strain and see if they could genetically engineer a more dangerous thing to present to a conference on influenza. And he did. He made something very, very terrifying. Very easily. Again, this is one of the more lower forms of my examples, but it's just to illustrate to you that this isn't an abnormal thing. People around everywhere are doing things for scientific purposes, taking diseases just to see what they can do, just to push the boundaries, or just to prove a point, or to try and manufacture cures, if you want to be on the lighter side. Let's carry on. SARS. Coronavirus, SARS. SARS in 2004, which went to many, many countries, did many terrible things. Again, sorry if you lived in that. SARS. Oh, sorry, 2002. That's right. So in 2002, we had an original SARS. In 2004, it leaked again. And it leaked again after Chinese researchers in Beijing had a sample of SARS in their laboratory, and it leaked, and people got sick and didn't tell anybody, and I think 9 people died, if I'm right. It was contained very quickly, good to hear, but nonetheless, that is another example of biological germs. But getting further into it, we obviously do have some extreme examples of active biological weapons. 2001. We had the US anthrax attacks. The main suspect in the case was a bioweapons researcher who was looking at the anthrax prevention, and it is speculated, because he ended up killing himself, it is speculated that because his research facility was losing funding, that he purposely, after, I think he must have blamed people for not giving his research, he purposely sent anthrax in an envelope. Or we can say he or somebody else, because it was never actually confirmed, but it's more likely to be him. Sent anthrax in envelopes to different people in America, the politicians and people that were directly responsible for the program, which adds to the weight of it. And yeah, people got anthrax poisoning. And anthrax, by the way, anthrax has an interesting history. And here, because obviously I don't like to give purposes of research and not develop. I don't like to research and not talk on my own country. 2012, in the UK, the AHVLA, which is the Animal Health and Veterinary Laboratories Agency, had their own anthrax-related incident where they mailed anthrax to another laboratory for the purposes of research, and they didn't realise that they were mailing live anthrax as opposed to anthrax that was safe to mail, and so there was a leak there, and other laboratories in the UK got exposed, and it was just kind of a moment. The Guardian did some interesting reports on them. But there's been fundamental moments where, kind of the spotlight on biological weapons or biological stuff have been, they're very regularly tested on. There are more examples of biological weapons being used. There are. By all means, go look at them. I think smallpox might have been one of them in Origins, but I don't like to speak on what I don't know, and I'm not trying to touch on it too much. We are 13 minutes in.